Good morning, everyone. Guys, welcome back. I'm going to go through today why there is absolutely no chance of peace in the Middle East. There's no chance of peace in Ukraine. There's no chance of peace in Europe. And what I've been saying for a long time, this conflict in the Falklands that nobody's even considering right now is going to happen. I'm going to give you guys key dates, key personnel, and things to look out for. But guys, before we go on, if you live in the United Kingdom, that if you live in Europe, then the Ukrainian conflict, the conflict with the Russians is what is going to affect you guys. So straight away, guys, I'm going to go, in fact, I'm not going to go straight to the shared map. I'm going to tell you first what David Lammy has said. Now, I mentioned this yesterday, but what I want to do is I want to mention it again, just one sentence, and then I want to go for you guys straight onto the shared map so you understand how what David Lammy has actually said fits into, global events, and especially if you live in the United Kingdom at the moment, how that fits into Europe in general. So David Lammy, obviously, UK Foreign Secretary. This is the key, what have I done? This is the key, the keynotes here. In fact, not even that. This bit here. So David Lammy has said there has been a long-standing position that we are not committing troops to the theatre of action. So that, to me, my interpretation of that is we are, but so it could be also a true statement to say we are committing troops, but not to the theatre of action. You see, if they were not going to commit, if the United Kingdom had no plans to commit troops, they would say, we are not committing troops. That's what he would say. But look at the word in here, guys. Look at the language he's using. There has been a long-standing position. So this means, so that's like a get-out clause for him. So a long-standing position. So before he was involved, that we are not committing troops to the theatre of action. So guys, from yesterday's video, we talked about that a little bit. What I want to do now for you guys, I want to go onto the shared map and I want to show you guys exactly what that means and where the troops are going to initially be deployed. Devolved, I don't know where that came from. So obviously, this is Ukraine as of the 24th of the 10th, so just a little bit over a month ago. So let me pan out, sorry, you can't zoom out. So you've got Kiev here, you've got Ukraine. Now, this river, Dnipro, that is the key feature. There's no fighting east of the Dnipro. So when David Lammy says we're not deploying troops, what did he say? To the theatre of action or something? What he means is we are going to deploy troops, but they're not going to cross over the River Dnipro. And remember what he said? It's what he felt. Let me read it again. He said it's been a long-standing position. So that doesn't mean that they're not doing it. That just means that that's been the position for a long time. Now, of course, these positions can change. Like 2 seconds after he gave that speech, he could deploy troops and says, yeah, that was a long-standing position. So the fact is, guys, these, boots on the ground are an inevitability as far as I'm concerned. And the initial phase of boots on the ground will be, I know some of you guys can't see the cursor. I can't change it. But this northern corridor here with Belarus, that's where I feel NATO troops will be securing this border. And then all the Ukrainians that are currently defending that border, securing that border, they can push east. Also, you've got this little, I don't know what they call this. It's called Transnistria. It's like it's part of Russia, but it's not. So this part, I think it's. Sorry, anyway, so this part of, this Transnistria, basically, this will be, they'll need some NATO troops here or whoever it is, whether that's NATO, whether that is, European army, European training mission, European military assistance mission, doesn't really matter, but there'll be troops down here. There'll be troops on this northern corridor, and there will be a lot of troops in and around this region doing training. Now, the main training locations for Ukraine are, I think it's round about here. It's called Navarrete. In this well, let me zoom in. It's round here. Sorry, guys. It's around this area here. Let me just zoom in a bit more. I can't see it. Anyway, it's north of Lviv. No, I can't see it. But that's where the training areas are. That's where all the ranges are, all the military training. And that's where, I think there will be a huge contingent of NATO, European, French, British troops conducting training. Now, as part of that training, you obviously get something called training and mentoring. So once they've conducted their training here, I would suspect that whoever's conducted the training will go out with them to the east, conduct their missions, come back and potentially do more training. Now, of course, there's more training areas. There's training areas all over the country in Ukraine, and they're a country at war. So guess what? They can just build a training area wherever they want. So that's what David Lammy means when he says it's been a long-standing position not to send troops in the area of whatever he said, area of conflict or whatever. Now, let me just zoom in, guys. Again, I'll give you the last 30 days, and I'll show you why boots on the ground is inevitable. So I'm just going to zoom forwards, guys. I know I do this every day, but I do think it's important. Watch this river here. Is it this? No, sorry, this river here. Watch this river or whatever, this water feature here. The Russians are going to push up this water feature, and then they're going to push north. They're going to hold around 10 kilometers away from Pokrovsk. I'm just going to zoom forwards, guys, and look at the amount of ground that's being taken every day. And look, there's no ground going the opposite way. It's literally the Russians taking ground every day. And that brings us up to date as of yesterday. So let's just get into this bit here. So if you see here, guys, this river, remember what I always say, you need a feature to hide behind. You need something as a defensible position. Guess what? It's harder to do a running battle over a river than it is over, over fields or whatever the other terrain is. So that's why they're going to push west on this river, on this water feature. And then I'm going to suspect they're going to use these 3 water features and come north, because they can hide behind these rivers, they can hide behind these lakes, whatever they are. I don't know what the defenses are in this location here, Novotorovsky. I don't know what the defenses are. I would say they are low because of the proximity here to the Russian front line. So we've got, what have we got? We've got 5 kilometers. Yeah, I'd say, yeah. So they're well within range. I'd say there's no defenses there because of the proximity. But anyway, guys, that is an update from the ground in Ukraine. Now, where are we going to go first? Let's go straight to the Falklands, guys. Let's go to the Falklands. Months and months and months ago, like even before the oil was discovered in the British Antarctic territory, I was doing videos saying, listen, the Falklands is an area for conflict, because whoever controls the Falkland Islands controls Antarctica. Now, if you guys want to put in the comments and argue with me, that is absolutely fine. But the reality is, whoever controls the Falklands controls the peninsula, the Antarctic Peninsula. That is the only place that has a beach, as I understand. That is the only place you can land ships. Yes, of course, you can, you can spend billions and billions and billions to try and, get in somewhere else and build something else and have a huge mega project. You can. But the reality is, whoever controls the Falklands controls Antarctica, because they control the entry point. Unlike so many things going through history, kind of doesn't matter how much real estate you control. It's all about the access and egress points. Because as the United Kingdom, we lay claim to that peninsula, so we control the Antarctic. And that's why the Falklands are going to have another crack. Sorry, that's why the Argentinians are going to have another crack at the Falklands. So it's come out then that there's more tensions now between the Falkland Islands and the Argentinians, because the Argentinians are going to start oil drilling in 2027. This is against what the Argentinians have said. Now, you've got to understand that the Argentinians, they want that oil. It's got nothing to do with, democracy or integrity or sovereignty. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got everything to do with money. It's got everything to do with oil. It's got everything to do with Antarctica. Guys, that is going to be another area for conflict at some point. I would say this is all going to fit in around 2020. I think I'm going to go with 2027, because that to me seems a date when everything's just going to have erupted. You know, you're going to have a US invasion of Iran. You're going to have the United Kingdom heavily involved in Ukraine. And it's going to be very difficult then for the United Kingdom to fight a war on two fronts, although we will do that, and I'm sure we will succeed. But that is going to be the reason why, guys. So everything else you hear, all the rhetoric that you're going to hear in the next months, years, whatever, about the Falkland Islands, it's all about money. It's all about oil. It's all about the amount of oil that's been discovered in the British Antarctic territory. We've got the Iranian. There's been the Iranians are now, in fact, let me just share this, guys, because this is important. So for those of you who've been following the channel, remember what I've said about Trump having a war in Iran. Trump will Trump will invade Iran. I said the earliest Trump can invade Iran is March 2026. And I'm very specific about that date, guys, because there's only so many windows of opportunity you have to invade these countries. Now, in the Middle East, the best time for you to send an invasion, it's March. That is the window, and that comes, a lot of that comes down to weather. So did everything they asked. Iran's foreign minister hints at nuclear weapons program if sanctions return. So they're talking now about, if there's more sanctions put on Iran, they're going to develop a nuclear weapon. And guys, what have I been saying for the longest time? I've been talking about this was already put into US law back in 2023. House Resolution 559 or 599, which clearly states that a nuclear-armed Iran is unacceptable to the United States. They'll take all means necessary to avert that, and they will support any regional actors. And they're talking about the Israelis to get rid of the Iranians as a nuclear threat. So you see that all these things, it doesn't matter about these peace deals. It doesn't matter about X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter about what politician says what to who and who thinks they've got, so-and-so, Donald Trump's going to have peace in Ukraine in 24 hours. And I will come on to that, guys. And I'll talk about the guy he just elected or not elected. He's just given the job as, I think, like peace envoy or something to Ukraine. We're going to be talking about him in a minute, guys. But, it's absolutely wild, this situation. When you hear nuclear rhetoric coming from Iran, what we mean is war invasion. So when the Iranians pump up their nuclear, their nuclear rhetoric, that just means there's going to be an invasion. Now, there has to be an invasion because you can't do this by the air. You can't take out Iran's nuclear facilities by the air, because I'm going to suspect ridiculously that after 2003, when the Iranians will have seen the colossal force of the US Air Force and the US Navy, the amount of aerial bombardment that Iraq took I think it was the first five. I think it was 5 days of constant air bombing. The Iranians will know they have nothing to defend against that, and there isn't anything to defend against that, guys. So what will the Iranians do? I would suspect they have gone deep underground a mountain. They were dug in the last 21 years. They've been digging deep, where these long range bunker busting missile systems, where they can't be, where they can't reach. Even the might of the US Air Force can't destroy a mountain. I don't think it can. So that's why you need boots on the ground. That's why Trump's going to have an invasion into Iran. That's why we're looking at a global conflict of an industrial scale. Guys, all these things are out there. All these things have been set in stone already. The House resolution was passed in the United States on the 1st of November, 2023. So all these things are there, and then you just need to connect the dots and think, right, okay, that's happening. So guys, I'm going to try and keep this video relatively short. So let's go now to Ukraine. So you've already seen the front line of Ukraine. Absolutely, it's collapsed. They don't really have a front line anymore. The only thing that's slowing the Ukrainians down, the only thing that's slowing the Russians down, in fact, the Russians are not slowing down. The only thing that's dictating the pace to the Russians is the Russians themselves. I feel that they learned lessons from their 2002 incursion or invasion, I guess, and they just don't want to overexploit themselves. They're taking ground every day. Why would they slow that pace? They're at a slow and steady pace, and it's a sustainable pace. I can go back 2, 3, 4 months. They're taking the same amount of ground every day, guys. It is wild. So Trump picks Keith Kellogg to serve as special envoy to Ukraine and Russia. Retired U.S. Army general and former Pence aide tapped for newly conceived role to negotiate amid ongoing war. So let me just tell you a little bit about this guy. I don't know if you're going to get this information anywhere on the internet, guys, but this guy, Keith Kellogg, in 2000, and I can't remember what year it was, basically in Afghanistan, he was a serving colonel, or what rank was he? General. He was a serving general in Afghanistan. Now, so hang on. I think somebody's coming through. No. Now, there was him and 2 other guys. I believe one was called Brown and one was called Riley. And they've set up a company called KBR. Now, this company, KBR, then provided food and life support to the coalition whilst in Afghanistan. And again, it was just, this is my understanding of it because I lived there. I've not, I can't find any information about this. But what I understand is through the grapevine, through the back chains, that these guys set up a company called KBR while they were sitting generals, or was it generals? Yeah, generals, or I think Raleigh was a colonel. They set up a private company. They awarded themselves the contract. So as there was the military, it was their privilege to award people contracts. So they awarded themselves that contract to provide food, life support to the coalition that was in Afghanistan. Now, they did that and they ran that and it was relatively successful. But I know from my personal experience that these guys are now into, they do research and development on combat drones. I don't know I don't know whether he's still linked to that company. The company's called KBR, and the K on that KBR is for Kellogg. So that's him, guys. That is that guy there. So what I would suspect and what I would speculate from this is you're going to see the military the US military will 100% not get involved in Ukraine. But what you will see is private companies like KBR, they will be involved in providing life support, providing, the other things that go along with the military. So the US will be involved. There'll still be, United States companies out there, but United States military guys, absolutely not going to get involved. I would say that KBR are going to provide life support to the coalition when they go in there. Why would I say that? Because he's in charge. If you're in charge of this thing and you can provide a service to somebody, why would you not do that? There's only a limited amount of people that can provide life support, who can provide this sort of stuff, and KBR are certainly one of them. So that's, when people, people don't talk about these people, the background. Oh, he's hang on, this is right. Okay, so it was a lieutenant general. I don't know how the US military works. But anyway, guys, that is that guy who Donald Trump has said is going to be his negotiator. And what he's going to do is he's probably going to go to Russia and say, "Hey, Russia, can we do this?" And the Russians will say, "Okay." And then they'll do it. That's all that's going to happen. Overnight in Ukraine, you've had more attacks on the power grid. It's becoming very difficult now as the weather drops, as the temperature really does drop in Ukraine. In fact, my friend spoke to me yesterday. He said he sent me a picture. I can't show the picture, but he's in Ukraine and he said, "Hey Sean, I saw some Ukrainians repairing the electricity lines last night, and they were wet, and it was like sub-zero temperatures, and they were wearing shorts and flip-flops, and it absolutely wild times, guys, absolutely wild times." So when we're looking forwards and people are talking about a peace deal, about peace negotiations, there's no peace deals on the map, guys, and there's no peace deals on the cards. And certainly from the map, if you are Vladimir Putin right now and you're taking ground every day, as I show you guys every day, the amount of ground that the Russians are taking. If you're taking ground every day, why are you going to, enter into why are you going to enter into peace negotiations? Why are you going to even contemplate, talking about peace deals? The only person who can, decide whether right now, it doesn't matter whether Trump wants a ceasefire, doesn't matter whether remember, guys, okay, there's a difference between a peace deal and a ceasefire. Right now in the Middle East, you've got a ceasefire that is not going to hold, guys. I've said from day one, I've said from as soon as the media switched back to Ukraine, I've said, guys, listen, round about Christmas time, something's gonna happen in the Middle East, and the media will be focused on the Middle East again, because you've got baby Jesus, you've got Jerusalem, you've got that whole nativity, and it'll be in people's minds. So that's why it's going to switch back over there, guys, in and around Christmas time, or maybe just before. So when we talk about peace deals and ceasefires, it kind of doesn't matter, because if Trump wants a ceasefire, if Zelensky wants a ceasefire, if David Lammy gets told he wants a ceasefire, it doesn't matter, because the only person who can decide right now whether he wants a ceasefire or a peace deal is Vladimir Putin. And why would you come to that? Why would you come to that table if you're taking ground every day? Why would you even entertain that if you're taking more ground every day? You wouldn't do it. It's not going to happen, guys. These things are going to escalate more and more. They're going to escalate out of control. You've obviously got we spoke about yesterday. We spoke about the rhetoric of the Ukrainians getting nuclear weapons, and I gave the arguments for that and why I think there's a high likelihood of that happening. At some point, somebody is going to use a low-yield tactical nuclear weapon in this conflict. And there will be media hysteria. It will be wild for about 3 to 5 days. And then, I don't know, a celebrity will do something daft at a party and everybody will forget about it. And then another nuclear weapon will get used. And then that will get media coverage for like 2 to 3 days. And then somebody else will use a nuclear weapon. A tactical nuclear weapon, and then that will just get no media coverage, or it might get like a little paragraph in the back spread. At some point, guys, I really do feel that we're going to have a normalization of low yield tactical nuclear weapons on the battlefield. These are the things that can take out units. These are the things that can take out brigades. They're going to be whoever the first person to use them, guys, is going to obviously be internationally condemned. But after time, people will just normalize it. And, there's a big argument to say that this is what happened to life on Mars. But again, that is a totally different story, guys. Anyway, guys, listen, I've waffled on for far too long. I think I've hit my points. Yes, we've talked about the Falklands. We've briefly talked about the Middle East. We've talked about the guy who Donald Trump sending as a special envoy to Ukraine and Russia, who's supposed to be the peace negotiator. We've talked about his background. We've talked about Ukraine. I've talked about the front line, how it's collapsing. And that is it, guys. Guys, listen, if you live in the United Kingdom and you wasn't on our live stream yesterday, we talked about my speculation that the United Kingdom right now is preparing for a grid down situation. By grid down, I mean GPS failure, GPS denied situation. Yesterday on the live stream, we were one of the viewers messaged. They said, "Listen, I live in Birmingham. The police have just put out a message saying we're doing a big exercise, so don't worry if you see X, Y, and Z." I said straight away, because it was really funny. I was sat here with Sarah. I said, "Listen, you know what? We've seen police in our area as well, just South Yorkshire. We've seen police in our area as well." And I said, I can tell with 100% certainty that those police officers were conducting a map reading exercise. They were training to use vehicles without the use of GPS. And straight away, I thought, wow, do you know what? I'm going to suspect here, and I'm going to jump to the conclusion that the police are training right now for a situation where they're operating in the GPS denied area. I put that out as a video on the other platform. We had lots and lots of people, messaging back saying, "Listen, the police around me are also doing exercises. The police are also doing exercises." So I'm going to put it out there, guys, that the police the emergency services are getting ready to operate in a grid down situation whereby they have to operate without GPS. And then we found out through you guys that the police use Google Maps and Waze as their navigation. Guys, can you imagine how bad it would be in the United Kingdom if GPS went down? your police services right now, they are all heavily reliant on GPS. I would suspect that hardly any of them know how to use how to do vehicle navigation. That goes for your ambulance service, your fire service, who I'm suspecting, obviously, I don't know the systems that they work on. I'm suspecting they get in their vehicle and the location to where they need to go is plugged into that GPS or that sat-nav, and the driver just follows the sat-nav. Guys, imagine the outcome if the police, the emergency service in the United Kingdom have to operate without GPS. It would be catastrophic. The wait times would be phenomenal. The crime rate would spike, because why, if you're a criminal gang and you know the police can't get to you, why wouldn't you, increase your undertaking? And right now in the United Kingdom, guys, we have an absolute epidemic of a crime wave. I mean, it's just every day you're seeing supermarkets burgled, you're seeing theft on the increase, and this is going to happen, guys. All this sort of stuff is coming. We've got this to look forward to, guys, so buckle up. Anyway, guys, I'm going to max grade and I'll get you guys another video later.